Hi everyone, how are you all feeling? I just thought now was a good opportunity to give you a quick update. The Schumann has been doing or reflecting its simultaneous release of light and purging. It started here around 2 in the morning in Sydney time and finished around, well, not completely finished, but for the most part around 9 a.m. which, if my calculations are correct, universal time would have been around 4 p.m. till 11 p.m. For Friday. Yes, because it's Saturday here today. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what my understanding of this whole purging process is, because it feels like something that's been happening forever and pretty much it has. And I've been thinking, at what point does this stop? Like, when have I cleared all this stuff that I won't be purging anymore? And the short answer is never, or not for the foreseeable future. And I'm not saying this to scare you or make you think it's a negative thing. There's a couple of analogies that have been given to try and explain what's happening. Largely, first I'll try and address it on a general level. And I just want to preface this, like anything that I share, I'm not saying that this is what is happening. It's my understanding of it. And that understanding often, may change if my awareness of things changes. So please just take what feels right and ignore anything else. But what I'm being shown initially as a general theme is, if you picture a glass of water and you fill it so that it's really dense with food coloring or something similar, and you stick it under a tap and you turn a bit of water on, not too much and not too hard, just you put a bit of water in there and it, what's the word? Diminishes the density of the food coloring in there. And then you do a bit more, and again the water gets a little bit lighter. And if you keep repeating this process often enough with these little bursts of water of varying strengths, you will eventually get a clear glass. The water will be clear. So that's largely an analogy of what's been happening, is happening, and continuing to happen. And the other way to look at it is, whenever we receive these higher frequencies and they come into our energy field and our body, everything else, and have this integration, it's like a simultaneous, as they come in, they push out whatever the lowest vibration present is, or push it up closer to being released. And then when the next lot come in, the same thing happens. So we often judge ourselves for purging, when in actual fact, the lowest vibration that you might be purging today could well have been the highest one that came into your field 6 months ago, and or any time frame. I'm just using that one. Do you know what I mean though? It's going to be this constant process where, as these higher and higher energies continue to come in, the old high ones become the new low ones and they get pushed out, and it's an organic process. It doesn't mean that you're still carrying all of this stuff that needs to be cleared. I mean, I'm not saying there's not stuff that needs to be cleared either, but it's very much, it's going to be this continuing process of our baseline getting higher and higher and higher. And the only way that happens is for the lower to get purged out on a regular basis. So that's like a general analogy. But then I'm being given another one of, and sometimes I wonder why I get these things. It's think of a coffee mug that you mix gravy in. Anyway, you have a dinner party, the gravy's there, it doesn't all get used, and you're too tired to clean up, so it just sits there overnight and into most of the next day, and it becomes this hard, mix of this hard and jelly mess. Anyway, again, you stick it under the tap, you fill it up with water. It's this really messy cup that you're looking at. Each time the water gets turned on, that stuff starts floating out and the water starts becoming clearer and clearer, until you get to a point where you realize the water itself may be clear in the cup, but there's all this caked on gravy or whatever you want to picture as being stuck onto that cup. Now, for the most part, it's not affecting the water that comes into it. You could probably drink that water, it's that clear, but you can also clearly see there's this encased substance on there. And no amount of just turning on this water or letting it sit in this water is going to come off. It needs something that's a higher pressure to come in and give it a bit of a blast, and that loosens it. And again, that process, these energies, water comes in, pushes it up so that it can move out. So what's happening is we're feeling, when it's caked on, we're not really feeling it because it's not doing anything. It's not moving, and it's the energy moving that we're feeling. So once this pressure kind of loosens it off the edge and it starts moving and getting flushed out with this continuing process of higher frequencies coming in, pushing out lower, or with the cup analogy, the water pushing it up and up and up till it's all pushed out. This is what's basically causing us to feel these different experiences. So sometimes we can feel really uplifted by these energies, really expansive. We feel that love energy in our heart more defined than ever. And there's other times it's brutal and we struggle so much. And so what I'm being shown is that we can't just blast it all off, because that's going to feel so overwhelming. It has to have little blasts in stages and then go through that process again. So that's why sometimes it's particularly tough and other times we navigate it with more ease and, more little experiences that cause us, reaffirms our faith in this whole process. Now, the other aspect I want to talk about too is we are obviously the micro to the macro, and what we are experiencing individually is also what's happening with Gaia and her planetary body. So again, there's going to be these times where she's just doing this general cleansing, which is the vibration coming in and pushing out the blue food coloring. But other times she needs assistance and receives the energies that are required to go to those deeper traumatic aspects that she carries within the pain body, and push that up. And again, if she were to push up all the trauma and the pain that is held as density within her body at once, I think it would be completely overwhelming. So it makes sense that while it seems that this has been a forever process, and for some much longer than others, it almost has to be this way so that it can be done and withstood by us and everyone, really. And I think isn't that the plan, that we're doing this with her? We're not going ahead. She's not leaving us behind. It's all happening really as one being, largely, that are making the leap. So often, again, there will be these times where her deeper density is being released. Now, for most people, I don't want to say most people because I don't want to speak for them. What I'm being shown is those that resonate with what I call energy runners, where you consciously acknowledge these energies and you receive them. And I joked last night actually that soon I'm going to make a video where I just say nothing. I just stare into the camera and telepathically transfer you the information, because it's getting harder and harder to find the words to put together a followable sentence. I know some of you are having the same trouble, so that makes me feel better. Okay, so those of us that act as energy runners do a lot of inner work to make sure that we act as a clearer channel as possible to receive these energies, integrate them, anchor them, and do that whole process, which is wonderful. But like anything, there's a flip side to it. It's just the nature of life itself. There's, or in this universe anyway, that if we experience what comes in, then we're also experiencing what is being released. And it's almost like the more work we've done on ourselves to be the clearest channel possible, it's like we're golden lightning rods. So, you know, instead of trying to run from the lightning, we're drawing it in. Yep, give it to me. And then, you know, literally grounding it, anchoring it, and consciously working with it. So the flip side of that is when these energies are being released, where's the first place it's going to go? Back up the rod, you know? So we're feeling a lot of the density that's carried within Gaia herself. And you imagine how much, you know how much trauma that we can experience in one lifetime alone, let alone the multiple ones that we've had. And they're just the ones that we, you know, are aware of to some degree. Imagine that multiplied by all the beings that have ever existed upon her. Imagine how much there is there, and you can see why this needs to be this gradual process, and you can see why at times it's easier to transition than others, because the more clear a channel we become, the more sensitive we become, and therefore the more acutely we feel everything, the good and the not so good. And it's, from what I can understand, it's not so much the receiving of these energies that causes us the issue, apart from occasionally feeling, or regularly, depending on the circumstances, feeling like the nervous system is overloaded. And it often is, especially if there's not adequate grounding happening. And I put my hand up and say I'm guilty of that. I talk about it a lot, but there are times when I forget the importance of going out and just putting my feet on the ground, my hands on a tree. And if I can't do that, just making it a priority to just sit and close my eyes and vibrationally connect with nature. So that's something I need to prioritize. But the incoming energies can usually be where we experience that kind of bliss, that peace, that love, everything like that. Then when the release happens, after the earth grid has received and integrated the information that's been transmitted to her, and knows what we need, this is where it's not so comfortable, because this is where we more acutely than anybody else will feel what's being pushed out to be released, and feeling it go through us. And this is where we start to struggle, because it's so uncomfortable sometimes. Instead of doing what we know we should do, I shouldn't say should, I don't know what's happening to my words today. While we know, the wisest thing would probably be to ease into it and just acknowledge it and allow it safe passage through us. It's not always easy to do that, and then we tend to contract and go, no, I don't want to feel like this again. You know, all of those things happen, and then we start to struggle, because then instead of just passing through us and being a momentary experience, it then becomes our experience, because we're holding on to it, energetically contracting and not letting it pass through. So again, this is where just feel everything but attached to none of it are the words that I want to say here. Easy said, I know. But this is what we're in the journey in mastering ourselves, isn't it? In the sense that we know we're a channel, but sometimes we forget what the purpose of that channel is, and that is to allow a clear, safe passage for these things to be released through us, in the same way that we welcome in these energies that we receive. So I hope that made sense. I really often get off making this and think, oh, I don't even remember what I've said. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, the purge is going to be a continuing thing, but it's a good thing, because it means each time it happens, our base vibration is rising, because the lower frequencies are being pushed out and replaced with these new higher ones. And it's going to be this constant, process each time that happens. And our baseline is always just going to keep rising. So I feel that that's a good thing and exciting. And I hope picturing those things helps you feel everything with greater ease, and myself. Because if we can hold on to that knowing of what's happening, or what we believe is happening, it gives a greater purpose to what we're going through. And I know that the physical aspects of this can be really, really brutal. I'm getting to the point where if I went to list everything I feel along this journey, I think people would either look at me and think I was a complete hypochondriac or had Munchausen's, because the list is extensive, I tell you, and on any given day there's multiple things on it happening. And I know that's the same for a lot of you, if not all of you. So anyway, before I start just rambling off, I think this turns into a bit of a cathartic release for me as well, so I'm sorry. But anyway, I hope that helps in some way. Again, just take what feels right, if any. It's just my way of interpreting this whole purging concept, because I know a lot of us have beaten ourselves up over it, thinking that we should have this done by now and just be moving on to some sort of different stage. So it is a constant stage. So I think if we embrace that, it can get exciting, because we know each time this happens, we're moving up a notch. And that's a good thing. So anyway, sending you all big love, big heart hugs. My words are just today. And I hope you're all doing well. And if you're feeling a lot, there's a lot happening. So just, go easy on yourself. All right, bye.